Morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. So, I guess I don't know others will join us or not. So, we will start, okay? In our last class, basically, we were talking about epigenetics. Today, also, we will learn some new things about these epigenetics, okay? So, just wait and let me share this slide. So, is this visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, in my last class, we talked about what is epigenetics, and I guess you understood that epigenetics is something which is more than genetics, which is beyond genetics. Okay, there are some, in case of at DNA level, there is some sort of supercoiling, packaging, and this is associated with different proteins. DNA is associated with different proteins, most commonly histone proteins, non-histone proteins. So in case of histone proteins, there are several different modifications that actually allows the DNA to be transcribed or not. Okay, so this is the epigenetic regulation that actually regulates the different proteins which can access the DNA or not. So in my last class I have mentioned, I guess you guys remembered what is heterochromatin, what is euchromatin. So in my last class we have talked that there are different process of this epigenetic regulation. There is DNA methylation, DNA acetylation. These are all like histone modifications, etc. So we talked something about this DNA methylation process, and today again I will discuss, because that the last class I discussed about the DNA methylation, that was a bit informative. So today's class is also informative, but to make your concept clear, so we will learn the DNA methylation process. So I have told that DNA methylations actually take place in the CpG sites. So the first questions comes in mind, what is CpG site? I have already written there. Just see, CpG site is the location in the DNA sequence within which a cytosine and guanine appears consecutively. So this is the CpG site, and what happens during methylation? This DNA methylation, this is the, I have just written the diagram. You can see this is the DNA methylation demethylation process. Okay, so in this is DNA methylation basically is an epigenetic mechanism, and as you know from the name, the mechanism actually methylation occurs by the addition of a methyl group or CH3 group to the DNA. Okay, and it affects the gene expression. And the most widely characterized DNA methylation process is the covalent addition of the methyl group at the 5' carbon of the cytosine ring, resulting in 5' methyl cytosine. As you can see, this is the cytosine, and this is actually forming 5 methyl cytosine by the addition of a methyl group. Okay, now what happens, informally this 5-methyl cytosine, informally known as 5th base. Okay, fine. These methyl groups project into the major groove of the DNA and inhibit transcription. So basically DNA methylation is the process which can inhibit the transcription process, which can inhibit the binding of different proteins, which is necessary for the binding onto the DNA strands to initiate or to continue the transcription process. So these methyl groups actually project into the major groove of the DNA and inhibit the transcription. In case of this is just informatory, that in case of human DNA, 5-methyl cytosine is found in approximately 1.5% of genomic DNA, and in somatic cells 5-methyl cytosine occurs almost exclusively in the context of paired symmetrical methylation of CpG sites, okay, in which cytosine nucleotide is located next to a guanine nucleotide. And we know we are talking about the stem cell courses, so this actually this epigenetic effect or epigenetic control actually affects the stem cells also. What happens in case of an exception is the embryonic stem cells. Here the substantial amount of 5-methyl cytosine is also observed in non-CpG contexts. Okay, so this is the exception. Now what happens? In my last class, if you remember, I have mentioned the name of some of the enzymes that actually take place in this DNA methylation process that play a very important role. Like one is the DNMT. I have mentioned DNMT. You can see also cytosine to 5-methyl cytosine. This conversion or this transfer of the methyl group is done by this enzyme DNMT, which is DNA methyl transferase enzyme, and there are DNMT1, DNMT3A and 3B. 3 enzymes are there which is required for this establishment and maintenance of this DNA methylation pattern. There are 2 other enzymes, I haven't mentioned it. Other enzymes, okay. So there are 2 other enzymes I have that I was telling about. DNMT2 and DNMT3L that may also have more specialized but related functions, okay. And what actually DNMT1 responsible for? It actually helps to maintain the established patterns of the DNA methylation, while DNAM3A and 3B that seem to mediate establishment of new or de novo DNA methylation patterns. But this, what happens in case of okay, fine. So this is the DNA methylation process, and again there are some DNA demethylation process. So for the DNA demethylation, as I have told that in case of DNA methylation due to the project of this methyl group in the major group of the DNA, it actually hampers the binding of different proteins.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Harsha is in lobby, ma'am.
Can you please repeat the question?
No, ma'am. Another student, Harshvardhini, she is in lobby.
Okay. But this is... please tell her to rejoin, because you can see...
Okay, ma'am, I will say.
Yeah, just tell her. Because I cannot see anyone here. So that I can.
Ma'am, actually, she tried for 2 to 3 times, ma'am.
Then send her the link again, please, if you can.
Okay, ma'am, I will send her the link.
Okay. So that we were talking about that DNA methylation. I have mentioned that DNA methylation, that is the addition of this methyl group, actually results in the projection of this methyl group in the how it actually regulate transcription. The methyl group actually projects itself in the major group of the DNA, so that it actually hampers the binding of different enzymes and inhibit transcription. Now once the DNA is methylated, it actually inhibits this transcription process. Now if we want to continue the transcription process, because I have told this is like reversible modifications, right? So if you want to activate, or if you want to transcribe the particular gene again, you need to demethylate the DNA molecule. You have to remove the methyl group, the CH3 group, and then you will be able to like allow different enzymes to bind to the DNA molecules. So this is the need of demethylation process. Once you will methylate the DNA, you should have that another enzyme, you should have the process so that you can demethylate the DNA molecule. So demethylation is the removal of the methyl group from the DNA, and this mechanism is equally important and coupled with DNA methylation. The demethylation process is necessary for epigenetic reprogramming of genes and is also directly involved in many important disease mechanisms. Just remind it is important for different disease mechanisms such as tumor progression. Demethylation of DNA can either be passive or active, or a combination of both. Now what happens in case of passive DNA demethylation? Usually it takes place on newly synthesized DNA strands via DNMT1 during replication round. Okay, and this is the passive DNA demethylation. And the active DNA demethylation, that mainly occurs by the removal of this 5' cytosine, methyl cytosine, via the sequential modifications of cytosine bases that have been converted by TATE, enzyme mediated oxidation process. Now this TATE actually the 10-11 translocation family protein. Okay, so this is 10-11 translocation family protein of 5-methyl cytosine hydroxylase, includes TAT1, TAT2, TAT3. There are 3 kinds of TAT enzymes. Now what happens, these proteins may promote DNA demethylation by binding to CpG rich regions to prevent unwanted DNA methyltransferase activity, and by converting 5' MC, you can see 5' methyl cytosine, that is converted to 5HMC, which is 5 hemimethyl cytosine. So this is 5HMC. From there it converts the 5HMC to 5FC, 5-formyl cytosine, and again this 5-formyl cytosine, that is converted into 5CAC, as you can see 5CAC, 5-carboxyl cytosine, through hydroxylase activity. These TATE enzymes have hydroxylase activity. Okay, and the TATE proteins have been shown to function in transcriptional activation and repression, like TATE1 that actually helps in transcriptional repression, as I have mentioned in case of that okay, and TATE2 for tumor suppression, and DNA methylation reprogramming process. Step 3 actually does this reprogramming process. So this is the basic actually you can say basic mechanism of methylation and demethylation. I have mentioned different enzymes that actually takes place in this demethylation and methylation process, and I guess at least you know now that methylation and demethylation is an important process for this gene expression, because if you want to stop the transcription process, if you don't want the transcription of the particular DNA molecule, you will have to methylate your DNA, okay. And if you want to continue the transcription process, or if you want to remove extra methylation which is not required in that particular DNA molecule, but that particular DNA molecule is still methylated, you want to remove that extra methylation, or you want to activate some part of the DNA molecule that is methylated but need to be demethylated for the sake of transcription process. So there are machinery which can actually demethylate this DNA molecule. Now the biological importance of this 5-MC or 5-methylcytosine as a major epigenetic modification and in phenotype and gene expression has been widely recognized, okay. For example, we can say that in case of DNA hypomethylation, so what is okay, before going that, we will talk about this DNA methylation. As we are doing the classes of these stem cells and also epigenetics, I have mentioned that this DNA methylation process has effects, or that is necessary to control the stem cells also. There are epigenetic regulations. So these stem cells can be applied to cell therapy. You know what is stem cell, you know? Can you tell me?
Undifferentiated cell mass which can be differentiated to form different type of cells.
Good. Now these stem cells, as you told, that it is undifferentiated cell mass, so it has the probability to become different new cells. So these stem cells can be applied in cell therapy, drug development, disease modeling, and to study the cellular differentiation functions, okay. Now DNA methylation, it has critical roles in the maintenance of this stem cell identity and lineage commitment during differentiation. So we will now talk about some of the stem cells and these effects of DNA methylation. So let's start from embryonic stem cell, which is known as ECS. So I don't know whether you know about these embryonic stem cells or not. This is embryonic stem cells. There are pluripotent cells, okay. What are different types of stem cells, what are their functions, what they do, how they are divided or classified, we will talk about this later. But just for this DNA methylation process, know that there are embryonic stem cells, which is a pluripotent cell and that has the property of self renewal, okay. Now it is known that ECS or embryonic stem cells can maintain their self renewal ability even in the absence of these all three DNMTs, the DNA methyltransferase enzyme, which actually methylate the DNA molecules. Other than these DNMTs, embryonic stem cells can maintain their self renewal activity. However, the differentiation of this ECSCs, that is almost completely inhibited if DNMTs are not present. So DNMT should be present there. global DNA hypomethylation blocks embryonic stem cells to silence pluripotency factors and to express differentiation associated markers. Okay, so there are the effects of this DNA methylation on these embryonic stem cells. You can see in case of this figure, in case of active active transcription, the pluripotent genes that undergoes active transcription, there are some regulators which can regulate these developmental stages, and there is no transcription, and it is repressed in case of somatic cell genes, the expression of different genes. Now what happens in case of somatic cells? They actually transmit considerable epigenetic information, that is this epigenetic information is this methylation, demethylation process, these epigenetic informations to daughter cells, but this ECS preserve their epigenetic memory by balancing the addition and removal of DNA methylation. So basically DNA methylation or demethylation actually help them to form and to maintain this epigenetic memory. Although these ESAs show high DNA methylation turnover rates, their epigenomes are well organized and highly stable. Now we know about induced pluripotent stem cells, IPSCs, that is originally generated through ectopic expression of 4 transcription factors. These induced pluripotent stem cells, OCT4, SOX2, KLF4 and MEEK. There are 4 genes, 4 transcription factors, OCT4, SOX2 and KLF4 and MEEK, and by the expression of these 4 ectopic expression of these 4 transcription factors, actually these induced pluripotent stem cells originally generated. Now this kind of stem cells can be used to uncover the epigenetic mechanism of reprogramming. Excuse me. Now what happens that during this reprogramming process of the cells, a global reset of the mature somatic epigenome occurs, and the epigenome of these induced pluripotent stem cells that are remarkably similar to those of the embryonic stem cells. However, it has been discovered that these induced pluripotent stem cells that harbor residual DNA methylation, that signatures from their donor cells, and excuse me, and they exhibit a preference for differentiation into their original cell lineage. So basically that acts as the marker, the DNA methylation. Moreover, what happened, a subset of this human induced pluripotent stem cells, they can retain their epigenetic memory even after extended passaging. Now this epigenetic memory has also been reported in direct programming. Direct reprogramming is the conversion of fully differentiated cells to other cell types bypassing an intermediate pluripotent stage. Okay, and what happens is direct reprogramming of fibroblasts into neural stem cells. We'll talk about that. Fibroblasts into neural stem cells by defined factors shows that there is some epigenetic memory in fibroblasts also, although the reprogrammed neural stem cells were able to suppress the donor cell specific transcription network. All these studies of reprogramming technologies provide insight into epigenetic memory and show how it can potentially be used for disease modeling and therapeutic applications. So basically this use of these stem cells in therapy, okay, as a therapeutic molecule, therapeutic application, that actually controlled by this epigenetic memory, which is in turn the effect of this DNA methylation or demethylation process. Now next is the hematopoietic stem cells. So hematopoietic stem cells, they are the rare population that is responsible for generating erythroid, myeloid and lymphoid lineages. Now DNA methylation is critical for this regulation of these hematopoietic stem cells also, for their self renewal during this hematopoiesis. It facilitates commitment to a lymphoid or myeloid fat, and it establishes the differentiated cells identity. The essential enzyme for this process is DNMT1, the DNA methyltransferase 1. This is essential for protecting these hematopoietic stem cells from the premature activation of predominant differentiation program. Okay, it is found that DNMT1 knockout mice suffer from self-renewal defects and marked misregulation of the myeloid and lymphoid compartments. On the other hand, in our previous slide I have mentioned about DNMT3A and 3B, which is the main function of these molecules is to maintain the pattern of this methylation, that are actually required to replace the self-renewal of this hematopoietic stem cell self-renewal gene network during the hematopoietic stem cell differentiation. So combined loss of this DNMT3A and 3B shows enhanced hematopoietic stem cell self-renewal and SERV inhibition of differentiation. So basically the self-renewal of hematopoietic stem cells is essentially regulated by this methylation process. The DNA methylation levels increases upon lymphoid commitment but decreases with myeloid commitment. Although this DNA hypomethylation is a general feature of myeloid cells, DNA methylation is dynamically regulated throughout the stages of differentiation. So basically DNA methylation process, this is like an epigenetic modification, but this is an important modification throughout which can regulate the process throughout the stages of the differentiation. During neutrophil development, DNA methylation appears to change during specific differentiation stages, and its states overlap with changes in the activation of key hematopoietic transcription factors. During the differentiation of monocytes into macrophages and dendritic cells, the time course of demethylation occurs at individual CpG island. However, de novo DNA methylation has rarely been detected during this differentiation process. So basically, this hematopoietic stem cell, the differentiation is in different cells. Methylation and demethylation plays a very important role. Okay. Next is the mesenchymal stem cells. So mesenchymal stem cells are multipotent adult stem cells, and it has self-renewal capacity, support hematopoiesis, and can differentiate into osteocytes, chondrocytes and adipocytes, mesenchymal stem cells. So what happens? Human mesenchymal stem cells from various tissues including like bone marrow, umbilical cord, adipose tissues, dental pulp, etc. They have been used clinically as potential regenerative cell therapies. I guess you know about mesenchymal stem cells from umbilical cord or bone marrow. Okay, you heard about that. There are other mesenchymal stem cells from various tissues like dental pulp, skin, adipose tissues I have mentioned. So these have, as they have the regenerative, they have the self-renewal capacity, so they can be used for potential regenerative cell therapies. Now, however, the high proliferation rate of these mesenchymal stem cells in an artificial cell culture environment could favor genetic and epigenetic alteration. DNA methylation pattern of human mesenchymal stem cells, they are maintained throughout long-term culture and aging. But senescence associated DNA methylation differences are observed in regions with H3K9MA3. The H3K9MA3 means the lysine K is the one letter representation of lysine, the lysine, ninth lysine of H3, that is histone 3, and H3K27MA3 and targets of EZH2. Therefore, DNA methylation can be a good molecular marker for the quality control of this mesenchymal stem cells. The DNA methylation profiles of mesenchymal stem cells can reflect their cell type of origin and can be useful for the classification of these mesenchymal stem cells. So, whether you can use it, the quality of the mesenchymal stem cells, that actually depends on the methylation of this particular stem cells. There are markers like I have mentioned, the H3K9MA3 and H3K27MA3. The histone modification, the methylation on the lysine residues of particular histone proteins, that actually serves as the marker molecule of this mesenchymal stem cells. Okay, next is the neural stem cell. Neural stem cell, this is basically a subtype of progenitor cells in the nervous system that have the capacity again to self-renewal and to differentiate into distinct cell types such as neurons, astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, etc. Now what happens is, neural stem cells at early gestations can only self-renew and they then differentiate exclusively into neurons during mid-gestation process. At late gestation, these neural stem cells begin to differentiate into astrocytes and oligodendrocytes. Now, during this differentiation or defining the roles of the differentiation of these neural stem cells, DNA methylation is important. It actually plays an important role in defining the timing of the neural stem cell fate specification, switch from neurogenesis to astrogenesis. Now, many astrocytic genes such as GFAP, which is glial fibrillary acidic protein, GFAP, they are methylated in early and mid gestation neural stem cells, then demethylated in the later phase in late neural stem cells. Thus, epigenetic mechanisms have a critical role in the fine-tuning and coordinating gene expression during neurogenesis. Like when the neural stem cells will mature, differentiate during the early gestation period or mid gestation period. In case of late gestation period, what are the different genes that are the different protein that will actually help in the process, that all these things are regulated by this DNA methylation and demethylation at different stages of this differentiation process. Okay. And in case of neural stem cells, the 5-HMC, which is 5-hemimethyl-cytosine, that is present at much lower level than 5-methyl-cytosine, but it is particularly abundant in brain tissues. DNA hydroxymethylation may play important roles in mediating dynamic gene expression changes during brain development. Again, we have already known about the TATE1 enzyme. TATE1 mutant shows, in case of mice, it showed that adult neurogenesis deficits and impairment in learning and memory. So, it remains to be determined how this 5-hydroxymethyl and DNA demethylation regulate neurogenesis, but at least this is clear to us that this DNA methylation and demethylation process, which is a part of this epigenetic mechanism, something which is beyond genetic regulation that actually regulate the different differentiation process, different activity, how the cells will actually differentiate into different cells, or how they will, their self renewal property. This, all these things are actually regulated, controlled by this epigenetic mechanism, which is DNA methylation demethylation. So this is at least clear to you now that this DNA methylation process is a very important mechanism in all cells. Now this DNA methylation is also important in cancer cells. The aberrant DNA methylation is common across many types of cancer cell. Global hypomethylation of the cancer genome, promoter hypermethylation of tumor suppressor gene, hypermethylation of tumor suppressor genes, and potentially direct mutagenesis of 5-methyl cytosine containing sequences through deamination of methylated cytosines can contribute to cancer, because hypomethylation of cancer genome. Okay, so hypomethylation means if methylation is lesser than that is required, the genes will be transcribed, because I have mentioned that methylation most commonly that actually inhibits the transcription process. So hypomethylation will lead to the activation of the particular genome. Promoter hypermethylation of tumor suppressor genes, the tumor suppressor genes that actually inhibit tumor progression or suppress the tumor progression. If we can inhibit that suppressor genes, it will not be able to suppress the tumor progression anymore. So that will be results in the tumorigenesis or cancer. So if you see that the promoters of this tumor repressor genes, they are hypermethylated. If they are hypermethylated, the suppressor genes will not be transcribed anymore. So there will, the function of this suppressor genes which can actually inhibit those tumor progression, that will not be fulfilled. So it will result in the formation of this cancer. These alterations generally coexist in tumors, suggesting that epigenetic mechanisms are the central to the evolution of human cancer. Okay, in this section actually now we will describe about the tumor initiation and how this epigenetic reprogramming actually helps in tumor formation or tumor initiation. Okay, now what happens? The malignant transformation of a normal cell into a cancerous cell has similarities to the reprogramming of a somatic cells to become a pluripotent cell, right? So transformation resets the transcriptional network and chromatin structure and produce cells with unlimited self-renewal potential. The cancer cells is nothing but they can divide and divide. They have the unlimited self-renewal potential. Now several reprogramming transcription factors are there like SOX2 and c-MYC. They are well-known oncogenes, whereas many genes that actually acts as the barriers to reprogramming like P53, INK4A, that function as the tumor repressor genes. Now DNA methylation is a potent barrier to cellular reprogramming, and methylation changes markedly during malignant transformation as it does in cellular reprogramming. As I have told that in case of stem cell, the cellular reprogramming, the differentiation actually regulated by this methylation. Likewise, the cell will be converted into cancer cell or not. The regulation of this particular cells by different genes, that actually depend on the activity or the effect of this methylation. Now stem cell like chromatin patterns frequently lead to DNA hypermethylation during cancer cell progression. Hypermethylated genes in cancer are heavily biased to PRC2, which is polycomb repressive complex 2, PRC2 regulated, and H3K27ME3 marked genes in ECS, embryonic stem cells, and adult stem cells. Now what happens, the regions of the focal DNA hypermethylation in cancers, they are located primarily in CGIs and CGI islands, and they are concentrated within long regions of hypomethylated regions. Now what happens, the widespread DNA methylation changes in cancer may be caused by mutation in components of the citric acid cycle and the epigenetic machinery. For example, the mutation in isocitric dehydrogenase 1 and isocitric dehydrogenase 2 enzyme altered the DNA and histone methylation pathways by causing the accumulation of D2-hydroxyglutarate, which competes with alpha ketoglutarate needed by the TET enzyme and histone lysine demethylase enzymes. So if there are the mutations, these IDH1, the isocitric dehydrogenase 1 and the TATE2 mutations, they are mutually exclusive in acute myeloid leukemia. Okay, and thus interactions between this epigenetic and genetic event drive progressive cellular abnormalities throughout the entire course of cancer development. So there are not only this methylation or histone modification processes necessary for this particular cell to become unlimited or exactly to having this self renewal property for unlimited time period. There are some genetic machinery also, and this defect in the mutation in particular genes that actually the results in the downstream processes. Now this, according to the clonal evolution theory of tumor cell population, cancers evolve by and iterative process of clonal expression, genetic diversification and clonal selection within adaptive microenvironments. This is normal theory. Okay. Now, in addition, it is now thought that not only the genome but also the epigenome can also contribute to tumor evolution, and that the genome and the epigenome are intertwined. For example, promoter DNA hypermethylation. Okay, the hypermethylation of the promoter DNA of the DNA that repaired genes is known to cause genetic changes, and mutation of epigenetic modifiers can cause epigenetic disruption. Although epigenetic modifications are enzymatically reversible, there are enzymes which can methylate, as well there are enzymes which can demethylate. So these epigenetic modifications are reversible. Some epigenetic marks, they are retained through cancer progression and represent the history of cancer cells. Epigenetic marks can also reflect the responsive potential of cancer cells to therapeutic treatment. Okay, so what happens in case of cancer cells, that is for the tumor progression, the epigenetic control or the methylation demethylation is necessary. Now what happens, now this biological importance of that I was telling about, the 5' methyl cytosine or the methylation process, it has actually, it's a major epigenetic modification in phenotype as well as in gene expression. So we were talking about this DNA hypermethylation in our last slide. So DNA hypomethylation, that actually decrease in global DNA methylation, okay, and is likely caused by methyl deficiency due to variety of environmental influences, and has been proposed as a molecular marker in multiple biological processes such as cancer. I have mentioned it. Now the quantification of this 5-methyl cytosine content or the global methylation in disease or environmentally impacted cells could provide useful information for detection and analysis of disease. So this, first we have learned what is demethylation process, what its mechanism. Now not only for transcription and how it affects different segments of life, this epigenetic regulation, DNA methylation, demethylation, that helps the cells in differentiation at different stages, not only all different cells at different stages of their differentiation. Not only the cellular differentiation process, it actually serves as the marker of different diseased cells also, right? Now the diseased cells, you can also use this to check whether a cell is in its normal healthy state or not. You can use this marker also. So what happens? The detection of this DNA methylation intermediate, the 5-APC, in various tissues and cells may also be used as a marker to indicate active DNA methylation. I have mentioned 5-APCs, 5-formyl cytosine, that actually in various tissues that can be also directly excised by thymine DNA glycosylase or TDG to allow subsequent base excision repair, processing which converts modified cytosine back to its unmodified state. So just in brief, let's talk about the role of methylation in gene expression. Say, I have already mentioned this, that for many years it was like believed to play a crucial role in gene expression, perhaps by blocking the promoters at which activating transcription factors should bind. There actually methylation occurs, and that the methyl group project towards the major group, and it is now the DNA molecule, the methylated DNA molecule are cannot be accessible by different enzymes. Now presently the exact role of methylation in gene expression is unknown, but appears that proper DNA methylation is essential for cell differentiation, we have mentioned, embryonic development also we have mentioned. Moreover, in some cases methylation is observed to play a role in mediating gene expression. There are like researchers who have found that the DNMT mutated enzymes, particular DNMT mutated enzymes, or mutated mice, they have showed reduced methylation level and die early in the development. So this is basically the experiment that actually tells us that DNA methylation is required for the developmental processes also. Okay, now in case of cancer cell, we have mentioned that in case of cancer cells, maybe there are hypomethylation of that particular cells, or the hypermethylation of the oncogene suppressing genes or tumor suppressing genes, the hypermethylation of that particular genes. So tumor suppressor genes are often silenced in cancer cells due to hypermethylation. Okay, and in case of the genomes of the cancer cell, in contrast, they shown to be hypomethylated overall when compared to normal cells, with the exception of hypermethylation events at genes involved in cell cycle regulation, tumor cell invasion. So we can say in certain cancers such as that of colon cancer, hypermethylation is detectable early and might serve as a biomarker for the disease. You can see the hypermethylated pericentromeric heterochromatin. The hypomethylation result in mitotic recombination, genomic instability. Again, the CpG island, that is actually hypomethylated. The hypermethylation, which is normally hypomethylated, the hypermethylation results in the transcriptional repression, loss of this THG expression, and both of these actually results in the cancer cells. So this is the effects of this methylation process in cellular differentiation, developmental stages, and also in this disease progression. So I guess DNA methylation is the effect of DNA methylation, the process of the DNA methylation is now at least clear to you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any question regarding this DNA methylation process? The informations you will get from any other textbook, okay? But the main thing is how this epigenetic process is important in our life, how actually this is imparting its importance. This is necessary. Any question?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so that's all for today. Okay, in our next class we will actually Atmaja, do you want to say anything?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So, in our next class, we will learn about some other epigenetic modification process. But DNA methylation, there are acetylation, which is necessary, but that is not so. Like methylation is much more important, and it has a global effect, you can say. There are different modifications, but not as much important as this methylation. And in our next class, we will complete these epigenetic processes and learn something more about the evolution and how actually evolution also affects the genetics and all. We will learn about that. Okay. So, thank you. That's all for today. Class
Thank you,
will be
ma'am.
tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow 8 a.m.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. বোন মা কি বলছে রে?
বোন ফোন করেছিল, বোন বলছে তোকে গিয়ে থাকতে এখন,
মানে
বলছে দিদি এসে যেন থাকে। কথা বলছি ডাক্তারটা আগে দেখাতে হবে তো, তোকে বল আজকে পরীক্ষাটা না দিতে।
পরীক্ষা তো দিচ্ছি না পরীক্ষাটা।
সেটা কলেজে কথা বলতে পারবি, এবারে ফোন পায়ে ছবি তুলে পাঠ ভিডিও পাঠাবো।
সেটাই।
কালকে এখন হয় তাহলে আজকে যা তুমি রাত থেকে খাওয়া